Hi guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you part 2 of my January 2017 wrap-up. I have 3 books to tell you about, so let's just get right into it. The first book I finished since my last wrap-up was The Splendid Outcast by Beryl Markham, and this is a collection of short stories. There's 8 short stories, and Beryl Markham, if you haven't heard of her, was like the first woman and even I think the first person to fly across the Atlantic from England to America. So like everybody knows Charles Lindbergh flew from America to England, and he was the first to do that. But she was the first, as far as I remember, to go the other way, to go from England to America. So she wrote a pretty famous memoir about that called West with the Night, and I have not read that, but my parents both have, and my mom's the one who gave this to me. So yeah, this is a very short little collection. Beryl Markham was raised in Africa. She was born in England, but she was raised in Africa, like in Kenya. Her father had a racehorse enterprise out there, and when she got old enough, she began to race horses and to manage the jockeys and do stuff like that. And then, of course, she also had her pilot's license. So these stories are about her horse racing escapades and then a few flights that she took. And they're all fictionalized accounts of various things that happened to her. This was a pretty interesting book, but I'm not really a short story person. I don't know why. I just never feel like I could get into them. You know, I always feel like they're too short for me to really care about the characters or anything. So this was good. If you like short stories, you would probably like it. If you like horses, you would like it because a lot of the stories have horses in them. It was just not a book that I was that interested in. You know, I read it because my mom gave it to me. But yeah, I'm going to give it away, and I don't really think I'm going to reread it. But there is some controversy about Beryl Markham that she possibly might not have written her famous book West with the Night. And this book, even in the introduction, it talks about how several of these stories are ghost written by her husband, in that like she gave the ideas, but then he did the bulk of the writing, but they were still published under her name because she was more famous. And so I don't know enough about like the history of the claims against her, but based on this book, it would not surprise me if she really did not write her famous book West with the Night, just because of the fact that she couldn't even write like short stories without help, So I don't know. It was an okay book. I wasn't that excited about it. I read it and it counted for around a year and 52 books prompt for reading a collection, either a poetry or an essay or a short story collection. And as far as I know, this was the only short story collection or poetry or essay collection on my TBR. So I'm glad I got it done and got it read. So the next book I want to talk about is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine. Engle. This is the classic fantasy middle grade novel that won the Newbery Award in 1963. So it's pretty well known and pretty well loved. I'd never read it and I enjoyed it, although I do think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if I had read it as a kid. If you're like me and have never read it, it's about Meg Murray and her younger brother Charles Wallace and their friend Calvin O'Keefe, and they have their father, Murray's father has been missing for a long time. He was a scientist for the government, and he was working on some important experiments with Tesseract for the government, and he's disappeared. And one night at their house, it's rainy, and these 3 women show up, Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Which, and Mrs. Who. And these 3 women offered to take them to their father and help them get him out of where he's at. And so they go and they are brought to very different worlds, and they end up on the world of Kamazit. I don't know if that's correct, but that's how I'm saying it, Kamazit. And they meet the evil entity It, and it has their father, and so it's about how they defeat it and how they get their father back. And it's a pretty interesting novel. I have to say, I'm not really a time travel person, and I don't really understand it. And like, I'm the person that when Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban came out, a friend of mine had to draw me a diagram of how it worked, and I still didn't get it. Like, if time travel ever becomes a real thing, I'm gonna go on it just so that I can understand how it works, because I don't understand how it works. Anyway, so that part I was kind of confused a lot, and then I felt like the ending of the book was sort of rushed. You know, they go from it being this like terrible being who nobody can ever defeat to Meg defeating them like pages later, and it's like there was no build up really, and I don't know, it just was kind of weird. And like the three Mrs. W's, Mrs. What's It, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which can't go with them to Kamazat, and it's like they don't really explain why, and it's just kind of weird. It's like, why would you not be able to go? It's, you know, they don't tell the kids. They're like, oh, it's above your level, and it's like, that's not useful at all and not helpful, and I don't know. So maybe that's my adult logic. Maybe if I like had read this when I was a kid, I would like love it, and because I know tons of people do, like tons of people love it. So yeah, but this was still a pretty good book, and I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I read it just so that I know, you know, like all the references to it and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I would recommend it. And the movie's coming out next year, and I'm really excited about that. Although I don't really understand the casting, because like after I read this, I was like, Reese Witherspoon as Mrs. What's It? What? And like Chris Pine is gonna be their father, and I'm like, Chris Pine is like a beefy guy, and Mr. Murray is supposed to be like a scientist who's been trapped by it for a long time. Like, what? I don't know. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong and the movie's great. But right now, I don't think the movie's going to live up to the book. So we'll see. The third book I want to talk about today is When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead. And this is actually a book that was directly inspired by A Wrinkle in Time. And I actually heard about this on Little Prairie Library. Felicia from Little Prairie Library talked about this a while ago, and I put it on my TBR, and I didn't really ever think about picking it up, but I had to read it. I had to read a time travel novel for around the year in 52 books, and this one was recommended. So I was looking at the reviews of this book to like make sure it was actually a time travel novel, and a lot of the reviews said that you should read A Wrinkle in Time first. So that's actually why I read A Wrinkle in Time, so that I could read this book. So this book is another middle grade novel, and it won the Newbery Prize in 2010, so it's a Newbery winner as well. And this is about Miranda, and she is a middle school kid in 1979 New York City, and she has this really good friend Sal. They're like BFF, you know, they've grown up in the same building their whole life. And one day, Sal gets punched in the stomach by a random kid, and there's no explanation. You know, the kid just runs up and punches him and then leaves. And for some reason, after that, Sal does not want to hang out with Miranda anymore, and she's kind of upset about that, you know, because they're BFF. And so she begins hanging out with some new people, and she gets a job, and it's sort of about how she comes back from losing her BFF. But then, when this is happening, when she's meeting these new friends and, you know, getting this new job, she starts getting notes from this person, and they're really random. You know, they show up in like her library books or her coat or her shoes, and she doesn't understand where they're coming from. And the notes are kind of weird because they seem to imply that whoever's writing them knows the future. And she's like, what in the world? How can you know the future? She's kind of freaked out. She tells her mom about the first one, and her mom's freaked out. But then later, the note writer's like, please don't tell your mom, blah, blah, blah. And so Miranda ends up not telling her. And anyway, this is sort of a book about Miranda finding some new friends and also figuring out this crazy, like, person who knows the future. And, you know, it's a pretty good book. It's a very short read. The print is rather big, and it's only got like 200 pages total, so it's not a very long read. I read this in about 2 days. I would recommend it. I would recommend it if you really love A Wrinkle in Time, because like I said, this is directly inspired by A Wrinkle in Time. There's references to Meg Murray and to it and to Kamazat and to Madeleine or Engle in this book, and it's a really sweet read. And I don't normally read middle grade, but I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed A Wrinkle in Time, and I would recommend it if you're looking for some fantasy, or if you're interested in time travel books. Yeah. And once again, the time travel in this book, really confused me, because once again, I don't understand time travel. I guess my problem with time travel is, what happens to the people that came back? Okay, that sounds really weird, and this isn't the place to discuss this, but the people that are time traveling go to the future, or they go back to the past, and then they come back to wherever they started. But it's what happens to the people that went back? It seems like it would be a perpetual circle of people leaving and people coming back. The same person. It seems like it would be stuck in a loop. I don't know. If you understand time travel, put it down below, or help me out, or send me another diagram, because clearly the Harry Potter diagram did not work. I just don't get time travel. That's not how my brain works. I'm just the people are in the time that is happening. And even in this book, they try to explain time travel, and they give a really good explanation, and I still didn't get it. And I was I'm so dumb. I don't understand time travel. But anyway, I'm glad I read this to get the time travel prompt done for around a year in 52 books. Yeah, that's all I've read for now, and I'll talk to you again later. I have several books going right now, so I'm sure I'll finish some more before the end of January. I've been reading like crazy because, my school hadn't started, but now it has, so I think my reading's going to slow down. But anyway, I'll talk to you later, and I hope everybody's having a great January, and I'll see you soon. Bye!